Hello everyone, welcome back to class. My name is Omolara, popularly known as Dirox, and yes, I am super duper happy to see you all today. So, let me ask you this question. Do you know that the number of compulsory paragraphs you are expected to write is solely dependent on the kind of question you pick? Yes, that is what we are going to be teaching today. So, you remember in the last class, I talked about some questions having one compulsory paragraph, some having two. So, we're going to give you an example of questions that would require you to have three compulsory paragraphs. Do you know what that means? That means that if you follow these steps and you see this question, please just rush and just highlight your three paragraphs, and then that means that you have how many more paragraphs to write, and your 20 marks is on. All right, so let me take you through the process. How does Cliff contribute to the development of the plot? How would you answer? How does Cliff? I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. Cliff, the character in Look Back in Anger, Jimmy's friend. Now, if you come across this question, how does Cliff contribute to the development of the plot? What are you required to do? Like I said in the last class, it does not matter how many paragraphs you write. As long as you are not following the guideline, you are not doing anything. All right? So, when you see this kind of question, you are required to write three compulsory paragraphs. Yes, three compulsory paragraphs. And I always say play safe. So I would say four. We are going to get to that part though. I'm going to say four compulsory paragraphs. But just in case you forget the fourth compulsory paragraphs, you must not forget these three I'm about to mention. The first is theme. And like I told you the last class, for any question that you are asked, the first thing that you need to write, first thing that you need to put in your first paragraph is the central theme. So you look for the central theme in Look Back in Anger, all right? And once you are still on that first paragraph, after you've written a little about the central theme, you go ahead to write on the theme that and how that theme relates, all right, to Cliff. So let's see, the central theme is the angry young man, all right? Now, you are expected in your first paragraph to talk about the angry young man movement and how that is to project to the larger audience, or of course mostly to the middle class and the upper class society, how those living in the lower class, how their lives are miserable. And of course we know that Jimmy and Cliff Jimmy most especially belong to this movement, all right? And that is why we have this story to begin with. In your second paragraph, you are expected to describe Cliff, right? So here is where you describe who Cliff is, how old is Cliff, who is Cliff's best friend, what does he do, and we all know manages a sweet store with Jimmy, all right, and is Allison's confidant, right? Now, you have written on two compulsory paragraphs. Now, the third paragraph, you are expected, because the question says, how does Cliff contribute to the development of the plot? So your third paragraph now, you should define plot. Yes, you will define plot and give a brief summary of the story. All right, so now this definition can come either before the character description or after the character description. It really doesn't matter. In fact, if you forget to write and you're on the sixth paragraph and you suddenly remember, please just make sure you write it. All right, the examiners will not penalize you for not putting it probably in the second paragraph or the third paragraph. As long as it is part of your paragraph, you have your marks for that. All right, so your fourth and your fifth and your sixth paragraph is where you start to talk about how Cliff contributes to the development of the plot. All right, we all know that Cliff is a friend to Jimmy, and because of Cliff, the rancor between Jimmy and Allison did not escalate too much. So Jimmy tends to tone down the conflict. Jimmy also is Allison's confidant. Things that Allison cannot ordinarily tell her husband, Jimmy, she comfortably tells Cliff. All right? Remember the pregnancy scene? How that it was Cliff that Allison told about the pregnancy. So you are now going to bring about all of this. Jimmy is, I beg your pardon, Cliff is caring to both Jimmy and Allison. In fact, as a matter of fact, Jimmy treats Cliff as though Cliff is his servant, sends him to go and bring tea, sends him out to go and get cigarettes, all of this stuff. All right? Cliff is also loving. Note also that Cliff is a foil to Jimmy. You have to put that. Cliff is a foil to Jimmy. That means that for everything that Jimmy does, Cliff is the exact opposite. While Jimmy is angry, Cliff is just okay. All right? While Jimmy is educated, Cliff is not educated. Is self-taught. While Jimmy, does not show or openly show love to Allison, Cliff, on the other hand, shows love openly to Allison. So these are the points that you put down when it has to do with Cliff's contribution to the development of the plot. All right? For your last paragraph, you must make sure that you write the significance of Cliff. Right? When we're talking about significance, we are simply asking you who Cliff represents. When the WAEC examiners are marking this, they are looking out for your paragraph 1, which is the theme. They are looking out for the definition. They are looking out for the character description. They are looking out for the significance. Now that's four compulsory paragraphs, and you're expected to write 5. And of course, I always advise my students to play safe. Playing safe means that go beyond the boundary. If they're saying 5 paragraphs, go beyond 5. You are not going to be penalized if you write 7 paragraphs. Please, always play safe. It is very, very important that you play safe. So after you are done with the compulsory paragraph, please make sure that you answer the question too. You can dedicate like 2 or 3 paragraphs for that. I hope that you have learned something. Please put this into practice. Any question you see, and you see that there is a character's name in that question, you know that there will be a compulsory paragraph, which is the first one, the thing, and there's going to be the character description, which is the second compulsory paragraph. If you don't see plots, please do not define plots. If you are giving question on character, roles of a particular character, let's say roles of Cliff, since we are on Cliff, roles of Cliff, all right, or the contribution of Cliff, there is no plot in the question, but there is Cliff and there are roles there. First paragraph, theme. The second paragraph, character description. Then you start talking about his roles, all right? Is caring, all right? Is friendly, is this, is that, and you start to explain. Please do not forget the PEA, points, evidence, and analysis. You cannot give bullet points. You cannot. So if you are saying Cliff is loving, that is a point. Cliff is loving, full stop. You are to start the second sentence showing the words evidence that proves your point that Cliff is loving. All right? You now say that he shows love towards Allison. You now start to cite example. Now that is your analysis. You start to cite examples and then you close that paragraph. Another paragraph. Cliff is friendly. That's your point. Evidence is your second sentence. And then you start to, this is evidence, where you start to cite things that shows or that proves that he is friendly. So, I hope you've been able to gain one or two things from this video. Please make sure that you put this into practice. It is very, very important. So it's as simple as that. Just know your questions, know your compulsory paragraphs, and yes, you're on your road, on your way to having distinction in literature. So, if you enjoyed this video, please click on the bell so that you'll be notified when I drop another video. And please share this video, share it to your loved ones. You don't know who you might be helping with this video, so please share it. And till I come your way again next week, bye.